Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Beyond the Album Cover of yours truly, Jarrell Mason, where we get inside the entertainment industry with those in the know and give them their flowers while they're here to be celebrated. Right now, I have a young man whose career is currently on the rise, hailing from the great state of North Carolina. Shout out to everybody in the 910. He is managed by Sean Barner. Sean Barner was former bodyguard of New Kids on the Block, and we're going to talk about his career, about whether he's a Tar Heel or Dookie. Sorry, Wolfpack fans, and everything else in between. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause and welcome to Beyond the Album Cover, Landon. Welcome, bro, to Beyond the Album Cover.
Hey, man, hands up for you. I appreciate you, Mr. Mason. You having me on, supporting, you know what I'm saying? NC, baby. I love it. That's always the vibe. So I'm happy to be here. Shout out to Sean and Miss Annie, like you said. I mean, that's what's understood don't have to be explained, I guess, it's a matter of speaking. So, Sean's kept it real with me the whole time, beginning to end. So it's only the least I could do to keep it real with everybody. I appreciate you having me, man. So NC, stand up.
Yes,
we're gonna come back to that basketball question. Don't you worry, man. Don't you worry. I ain't gonna let you get away with it.
oh, for sure. Hoops is about to hop back up. ACC season. Shout out to my boy Chris Lee, who's the current sports anchor for WRAL. We went to college together, so we're gonna get into all that and then some. So let's hop right straight into it. So, where were you born, and how did your love of music first come about?
So I was born on 17th Street at New Hanover Medical Center in Wilmington, North Carolina. My parents then took me out to the country. So childhood was spent, a lot of farming. The country boy thing was definitely real. So I've been in Wilmington living actively for probably like going on 8 years now. So, kind of moved by the country after a while. But yeah, right here in North Carolina, man, born and raised right by the coast. So Port City, stand up.
Yeah, and for those you don't know, Wilmington, a lot of big stuff was shot there. Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill. I know what you did last summer. I still know what you did last summer. Pretty much anything that was on WB was shot down in Wilmington.
They did scenes from Iron Man, I believe, if I'm not quite mistaken, and Robert Downey Jr., if I remember correctly, still actually owns a house up on what is it, Bald Head Island, I believe. So yeah, there's a lot of film here, a lot of film, a lot of sets, a lot of production, a lot of money as far as the film bringing it in. But they had a big fight, man. There was a whole bunch of people going on strike and stuff a couple years ago, and so it's kind of some of it's kind of dried up, but it's coming back a little piece by piece. So
Mhm.
shout out to the folks who work in the film industry, man.
Yeah, and also Color Purple was shot down in the Wilmington area too,
This is true. This is true.
which is a
This is true.
classic. Now, what high school did you end up going to?
You're gonna laugh at me, but no, I actually didn't really get to go to a real high school per se. We was, and not only was it country living, but it was also super religious. Like I grew up really, really strict religious. So like it was a lot of homeschooling. It was a lot of, taking your test at private academies and stuff when you have to do your EOGs and stuff. We'd have to go down the road to an academy to take them. It was all very religious. And then I went one year, my junior year of high school, to a boarding academy of the same denomination, Seventh Day Adventist. But as far as actually going to high school, I didn't really have the high school experience, man. I graduated from adult high school when I finally finished everything out at Cape Fear Community College right here in Wilmington. So that was probably the closest thing. And then I just transitioned right into, college classes or whatever after that. So I mean, it was I don't know, it was weird. It's
Mm.
definitely not like the normal, what I'm saying, go to school, be on a sports team, what I'm saying, do that whole thing. Like, it was hoe the garden and tend the beans, what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, that real country strong living. I'm from the 252 area, so I know about that living very well. Got a peanut and cotton field right next to my house and right next to my auntie's house and uncle's house. So it's real boonies in the sticks in 252. For
Uh-huh.
those of you that know, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, shout out 259 for real. It's that country job, man. But I'm not mad at it. It teaches you a lot of stuff. So but as time went along, I kind of gradually, as I got older and I started taking music more and more seriously, I realized that it wasn't a game, like as far as what I was able to do and what I wanted to do. So it kind of evolved out. Like I wasn't as much concerned with, what I'm saying? Like my dad still lives in the country right now. If I go see out him, I go out to see him, it's nothing but fields, you know what I mean, everywhere. But I'm out here in Wilmington, got my own, designated studio with my partners at CBT Studios, and shout out to Bobby and Young Will. And so now we're out here doing this music. So
Yeah,
still
for
in the same,
sure.
still in the same. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So, what was your first musical memory? Like the first song you heard on the radio that said, "I want to do music as a career," and also the first record that you remember buying with your own pocket money.
Those are good. Oh man, that's okay. Wait a minute. So with the song, what's important to know about the song is that can be that first part can be split up into multiple pieces. So the first musical memory that I have is singing on stage at like 6 or 7 years old, singing "Jesus Loves Me" in front of like a church. You know what I mean? So I was on that like real young performance. But then there's a defining moment, like a song I heard that made me want to pursue it, made me want to be at the time. It was just a rapper. I didn't really care about singing at that point in time. I mean, it was a hip hop song. I'll keep it 1,000. The whole reason my name is Dirty F White, like on all my social media, is because I'm a Wayne head, man. Lil Wayne was the first song that I ever heard of hip hop in my life. I was at church too. And my friend John came and he sat next to me and he put his earbuds in my ear. He like looked both ways so my parents wouldn't see it. And he put his earbuds in my ears. He's like, man, look, listen to this. And it was that Lil Wayne song, Georgia, Georgia. He remixed it and was talking about Katrina and the way that it was handled in governmental, political stuff. And I was shook. I was like, this is the greatest song. And I listened to Georgia so many times. But at that was the defining moment as far as like, hey, I want to write rhymes. You know what I mean? Like that was powerful what just happened, and I want to be a part of it. But then like as far as you're talking about, so the first musical memory and the first song was definitely two different things. But wasn't there a third part of the question?
Yeah,
Or
what was the
did I answer
first
it?
album that you remember buying with your own money?
Yeah. That's right. Oh man, I want to say it was the first. I'm not a human being. It was the first by Wayne, the very first one. Yeah. Uh-huh. Pop all the balloons and spit in the punch. Right. Ride by you found see a foot in the trunk. Yeah. That was Wayne. That was back in that when was that? That was probably like 2010, I want to say it came out.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
crazy thing you mentioned Wayne, he was around 14, 15 years old when he got to start with the Hot Boys, Get It How You Live, and then the Guerrilla Warfare album, and then his solo albums, The Black is Hot, the Carter,
Yeah.
and everything to come out after that. And it's amazing to see how the South has really risen in terms of hip hop, with everything coming out of New Orleans with Cash Money No Limit, out of Atlanta was So Def, Memphis, 8 Ball, MJG, 3 6 Mafia, Miami, Uncle Luke, and Luke Records. And then, of course, Houston, UGK, Ghetto Boys, and everything come out of Rap A Lot, J Prince. So, what was your take on everything that was coming out of the South and then realizing, hey, we don't have to be in LA or New York to make it? Outkast and all those other acts I've mentioned show that you can be true to your southern roots and people will find it authentic. And how does that apply to you and your music?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. That's a good question. It's deep. So it was a lot of, well, for me, I feel like it wasn't as comparative at the time as we're about to make it. But like it, when I first got into Wayne, that naturally just by association led me to a lot of the people that you were talking about, led me to Andre 3K, you know what I'm saying, led me to Ludacris, led me to Ti, led me to a lot of these cats that were like, I didn't know it because or like I should have known, I guess. But like when you're in the situation, a lot of times you're just enjoying the music. You know what I mean? I'm just here for all the action. Like these artists are phenomenal. These people that I'm discovering, one by one as I was like younger and going through the stage where I'm just discovering new music constantly. And you know, and when it comes down to it, though, I feel like Wayne. What caught me about Wayne was his lyricism. And so even though the South has always had something to say, and there's always been deviations of that same Southern, there was a while like I feel like the world didn't really take us seriously. You know what I mean? Just as the South in general, as far as making music, it was either Cali or New York was like really where it was going down. But so shout out to obviously all the NC people, J Cole and P. Pablo and anybody else that's from New York that's doing it. Um, but when it goes down to the actual music itself, I think that it's so important that even from the South, you had such a perfect range. You had people that were explosive, like the explosive penmanship of somebody like Wayne, for instance. You know what I mean? There's just had bars and metaphors for days, stuff to keep you mentally entertained. And then you had, like I said, like for instance, Ludacris. I mean, bro was a party animal. You know what I mean? Like it was applicable to so many different things. And one thing that I loved about Southern hip hop in particular was we always find a way to bring some soul into it. And that's one thing that I love. Like when I was coming up, because I'm a guest in the house of hip hop. And I wanted to pay attention and find out. I don't know. It's just like you hear hooks. Like obviously now it's everything so diluted, and you hear a lot of influences a lot of different places. But I just remember distinctly, man, like the South, we used to have the hooks. You know what I mean? Like actual sung hooks, reminiscent of stuff like R&B. Like I can't help but keep bringing it back to Wayne. What was that song? Earthquake. Remember Earthquake off of
Mhm.
that Carter one? I'm way more fly than you. I was like, woo, stop playing. And it was the coolest thing to like see that, the poetry infused with the soul, and it all just came together, man. Shout out to Southern hip hop. But then also, you got, the whole chopped and screwed thing that was coming out of Houston. That's something that I don't think like anybody has done the same. You know what I mean? Like there's been some people that have tried, but I don't know.
Mhm.
I would definitely say Wayne, as far as pocket money, Wayne, I've spent more money on his albums than probably most people.
Yep,
He's
putting
got on my
money
list.
in cash money, and they still taking over for the 99 in the 2000. If you know, you
Right,
know.
right.
That is our generation's version of Doodoo Brown. As soon as Juvie says that, you run into the floor and ladies start dropping it like it's hot. But the one person out of NC early on that I felt put us on the map statewide, hip hop wise, was Ski Beats. Because with everything that he did with original flavor, and then Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt, Camp Lowe's Uptown Saturday Night, and just seeing
I
from the
forgot.
fact that Ski Beats was from Greensboro. And it's like, oh
Yeah.
snap, NC is on
What
the
did
map, because at this same time, Jodeci was also putting NC on the map on the R&B side of things. They're from right outside of Charlotte, and then everybody from that tree with Fantasia, then later Anthony Hamilton, and it's just crazy how now NC is starting to be respected and revered musically with, like you mentioned earlier, J. Cole, and also Rhapsody, and can't forget Little Brother as well.
so with that being said though, I feel like North Carolina for a long time we had singers. You know what I mean? Like for a long time, but so then how does the baby fit into all this? You know what I mean? Because he's a rapper's rapper. Like that's a whole different. You know what I mean? Do you think he's earned his spot to be
Yeah,
on that list?
yeah, I think the baby, he's been putting out product and doing his thing, and he still got a good little ways to go. A little fun fact for those of you that don't know, the baby went to UNCG for a good little bit. He went maybe a year or two after I graduated. But it's crazy how when you look across the state, it's very diverse musically, because if you go to the 252, they have a sound. You go to the 910, you got a different sound. 919, 336, 704, 828, and it all meshes, and it goes to one big melting pot. And NC overall is a diverse state where we can just say, hey, we're known for more than just Texas Pete, Pepsi, and the home of Michael Jordan.
And what is it? Cheerwine. Cheerwine's from here too, I believe.
Yes, which is the greatest invention ever. If you never had cheer wine, you got to have it out the glass bottle, and you got to go to a cookout, primarily on the rough side of town, and get you a $5 cookout tray. You'll thank me later.
Okay, I'm with that. See, I've had Cheerwine and I've had Cookout, but I don't think I've ever had the two at the same time. So that's, yeah, no doubt. Well, hey, so okay, wait a minute now. Before we get too deep into NC stuff, like, so are you a vinegar barbecue guy or are you a sweet barbecue guy?
Man, I'm from Eastern North Carolina. I got to go with the Eastern based barbecue. So, for those of you that don't know, in North Carolina, you have two different variations of barbecue. There's Eastern Carolina barbecue, where it's more vinegary based, and you have the pepper flakes and the barbecue. But if you go to Lexington and pretty much the western side of the state, it's called Lexington style or Western style, where it's more of a ketchup based barbecue sauce. But both are very good, but my Eastern Carolina barbecue bias is through and through Eastern all day, every day.
Hey, look, I got a homie that moved down from I got a homie that moved down from Jersey, and he came down here and he was just going off on me one day. He's like, "You guys, what is wrong with the barbecue down here?" I'm like, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, "No, man." He's like, "This isn't barbecue. It tastes like vinegar." And I didn't know any different. Like I knew that sweet barbecue had origins in Texas, and obviously had it before. But when you go to an actual, like a cookout, like somebody's granddaddy cooking, you know what I mean? Most of the time, it's a vinegar-based barbecue, and that's just what they on. Man, he was, "What is this shit?" I'm like, "Man, it's good, man. Eat some." And I converted him. He ended up being like, "All right, it's not too bad," and he would eat it with us. I'm like, "Yeah, man, you gotta hit." But
Yeah,
shout out to
and
North
you
Carolina,
know
we got
about
some
them,
great.
all about them pit pickings. You got to get there super early or to those little hole in the wall spots, small town, go a little bit outside the big city. Get there early though, because when they run out of meat, that's it.
It's over with. It's over with.
It's a wrap.
I ain't doing it but one.
Man, you're
Yeah,
making me
no
hungry,
doubt.
but let's go ahead and let's switch back to the music. So, what led you to wanting to take music seriously, and what is your craft as far as songwriting goes? What comes first, the hook, the bridge, the melody, or verses?
Okay, all right, a two-parter. So, well, I would probably say it's kind of the first one's kind of hard to answer. It's just been like a gradually creeping feeling, like as far as like knowing that music was, because for years, as you know, as I'm sure a lot of people do, I did music as full time as I could, you know what I mean, but never really shared it with anybody per se. People that were around me knew that I did music, and gradually the word would spread, and people knew about it, but I wasn't saying a word about it myself. You know what I mean, like for years, because that was back in the days where I was still young enough. I'm talking 13, 14. I was playing in church, performing in church, performing at little festivals, anything that I could get my hands on at that age. You know what I mean? It was appropriate. I was going to those things and I was performing. But like as time started going along, like I realized that it was way more useful for me as just an emotional, psychological, subconscious thing. You know what I mean? Like it's medicine.
Mhm.
Music is medicine. So when you're able to write, when you're able to get shit out of you, it's a wholesome feeling. So what I ended up doing was kind of like as time gradually progressed. Like I said, I got introduced to hip hop, so immediately I just dove into writing rhymes. And there was probably a period of time between the ages of, like I said, maybe 14, 15, all the way up to when I was 19 when I actually first stepped in a booth. And so from then, I had plenty of time to live my life, do what I wanted to do. But the one thing that I didn't ever stop doing was writing. And so by the time I got to the spot, everything happens for a reason, they say. I don't know if you believe it, but by the time I got to the spot where I had access to a booth and to a studio, I was still shaky, but I was solid lyrically. I had practiced an idea of what was going on poetically. So I get in there, I start going hard, trying to learn. And there was once again a period of probably 2 or 3 years refining, trying to figure out what my sound was, what was I doing. Did a whole bunch of experimental stuff. And still to this day, I'm extremely diverse, and I do pretty much every genre there is. I don't. Some of it doesn't get put out, but I definitely play the field a little bit. But I don't know. I just discovered that as time went along, and especially as I started to sing more for people, that was the most applicable thing. And once again, shout out to management, Mr. Bonner, Mr. Sean Bonner, because when he came on, and saw what was going on, this is you're looking at me, however long later, with the experience that I've had and the time that I've taken to promote my own self, and try to do what's right as far as progression. And he's gonna take that singing and do something with it. That's his gold mine. That's what he's going to work on and push, is that singing part. Because for years, like I said, I just rapped and I didn't care about singing at all. And it took the prodding from several people around me, like, "Man, come on, will you please do some song music? Will you please sing R&B? Will you please sing soul? Will you please sing something?" So anyhow, I hope that answers the first question. Like, kind of, it was just a gradually creeping feeling. Like there wasn't any one day when I was like, "All right, I'm going to do this for real now." It just gradually progressed, and as it got deeper, my conviction got deeper, my love for it got deeper, and it just went along. But then as far as like writing, man, that is so contextual. That second part of that question is so contextual. I mean, there's been times where I've sat down and composed an entire song off of one guitar lick. Like I'll play one little thing and that'll just open up a Pandora's box of random ideas that all get put together and everything works. And then there's been other times, like for instance, I wrote a song that was completely poetry, had no melody to it, had nothing. It was just a set of poems or a set of bars, and I kind of dissected it and pulled it apart, and later ended up finding a beat that made sense with it. Majority of the time, I would say though, hook based. Since I've taken since I've taken songwriting as serious as long as I have, hooks is what sells. You know what I mean? That's what brings you back to the song. That's what it's got to be catchy. It's got to hit. There's certain parts of it that have to appeal, and it's got to roll off the tongue. So it makes you say it. So there's a ton of options there. It's always got to start with the hook though, majority of the time. Even if I write a set of bars and I'm like, wow, this is a great set of bars, I'm not gonna do nothing with it until I
Mm,
figure out how it makes sense with something that would be the equivalent to that. You know what I mean? If I'm gonna bring that to the table, like, hey, I got some bars and no hook. Well, I mean that's cool, but you know, the hook is
mm.
what you repeat. The hook
Yep,
keeps people coming.
yeah, that's your ear candy and that's your money. So I want to know personally, how is the music scene in Wilmington, and is there a lot of collaboration between a lot of the artists within the local music scene, or is everyone kind of like to themselves? It is not really a lot of collaboration.
I would say it's more that than it used to be, if I must be honest. When I first started to take the promotion part seriously, as far as my own career, um, it's probably been 5 years now, maybe not even 4.5 years, almost five. And I started going out, as any budding artist would do, and booking shows, trying to figure out where were the open mics at, trying to figure out where were the shows, the people that needed openers, the slots. So I start going out and I start paying for all these placements and getting all these shows in front of all these people and doing all this stuff. And people started to realize that I was a solid rapper. Like nobody had complaints. You know what I mean? Like go on stage and you spit your bars and there's been no problem rapping. But then like I noticed that there was a period of time that in Wilmington everyone collaborated. Like every show, all the rappers were dapping each other up. Nobody cared if it was Crip or GD or whatever. Everybody was dapping. Everybody was cool. Everybody was collaborating. And then it's like something happened to hip hop in Wilmington. I don't know. Maybe I'm just irrelevant and off the scene. You know what I mean? Like let's give everybody the credit, the credit they deserve. But like it seems like it has kind of fallen off a little bit. Like in Wilmington, there was a hip hop show every weekend for like a couple of years while I was taking it seriously because I was in that scene. So I was catching these shows, and now I just don't see very many shows. Obviously, the pandemic didn't help. Like let's be obvious, but I mean, like even before then, it definitely seems like it's less. It's less than it used to be. That was one thing that I really dug about, Wilmington, especially Wilmington, man, of all the places, because it's still going on other places. I go to Raleigh, I still see the same clicks. You know what I'm saying? I still see the same people moving around doing shows. I still see the same tickets and the same people rapping. They're still out there. But in Wilmington, it's kind of like I don't know, man. It's kind of fallen off a little
Right.
bit, if I do say so myself.
Right. And with Wilmington, it's not that far from Myrtle Beach. Was there a lot of going down to Myrtle Beach and performing on the strip? Because Myrtle Beach. If you know Myrtle Beach, popular tourist destination, if you could get a venue at Myrtle Beach, you're in the money. So was there a lot of back and forth going from Wilmington to Myrtle Beach because they're constantly having tourists come, and that could mean more ears, more eyes, more dollars.
Yeah, no doubt. There was some. So personally, I performed in Myrtle Beach a handful of times, probably. I'd say probably 5 or 6 times. But as far as like local people traveling, I think that was almost. I don't know. Maybe those two things are related. You know what I mean? Like back when I first started rapping and taking it seriously, cats from around here were rapping on tickets from around here. You know what I mean? You would see folks, and there was some folks. I mean, there was some people here in Wilmington that were getting, you know, 20,000, 50,000. I know one dude personally who got 150,000 views. You know what I mean? Just from his city. It's been done, but I feel like everybody with the rise of social media being as prevalent as it is, and just like it was strong obviously back then, but people are moving around a lot. I don't feel like the people from Wilmington are looking for tickets in Wilmington. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, they're looking for now. They're looking for Raleigh. They're looking for Charlotte. They're looking for Myrtle Beach. They're looking for Miami and Atlanta and places that there's more active stuff going on. At least that's the path that I followed personally, so I can identify with it. I did shows here in Wilmington really, really regularly for probably 2 years, 2.5 years. You know what I mean? Like two shows a month probably, and garnered a handful of people. I could, what I mean? There was definitely some following, but you have to expand. You got to get out beyond your city. You know what I mean? That is one sad fact of life. They love you when you make it. You know what I mean? So if I popped up on NBC tomorrow, you know what I mean, and spit some bars or sang something, then all of a sudden Port City be up in arms like, oh, that's my dude.
Mm.
But we'll see. I mean, it definitely there's definitely some folks here in town that are super solid, and I got to shout out North Carolina, man. We got some hardcore fans. Once people actually mess with you, then it's super real.
Yep,
So
super
shout out to the
solid,
people from the
super soil, super loyal.
yeah.
Now, being from Wilmington, it's hard to escape beach music. For those of you that don't know, if you go down to Wilmington, pretty much the North and South Carolina coast, probably coast of Georgia, you're going to hear beach music and you're going to see people doing the Carolina Shag, which is the official state dance. So, can we talk about how important beach music has been to the music scene in North Carolina and how underrated it is?
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you right off to start with. I don't know a whole lot about beach music. I do. I've heard some of it. I feel like beach music is one of those things where, once again, it was a coastal thing. Beach music was from Cali. Beach music was from North Carolina. That was the two spots that were doing it. With North Carolina beach music, like I personally know some guys when I was going to Cape Fear, for instance, there was a professor who taught history during the day at the school and then moonlighted as a DJ. And I thought he was doing like raves or what I mean. What are you spinning? I was asking him and he goes, "Oh no, beach music. There's a huge pull for it." And this guy used to literally go down to these beach bars, Riceful Beach, Carolina Beach, Curie Beach, all these spots, and just play easygoing beach music, just the most laid back, chill, and people were coming by and just hitting him with the dollars, man. And this guy used to, that was his pride and joy. So I mean, shout out to all the beach people. It's very low stress music, you know what I mean? Not a whole lot of aggression, not a whole lot of you know super laid back vibes, which is what the beach is about. When you go down there, that's what you're after. I
Yeah.
don't feel like people go to the beach to listen to metal. You know
No,
what I mean?
definitely something you want to put on when you want to get your drink, your two-step on, your embers, your chairman of the board, and all those retro acts from the 60s
Little
and
cigar. Yeah.
your cigar. Now, another music from the South that has been influential in all forms of music. Are you familiar with Southern Soul?
I would say so. Like, who you mean? Give
Southern
me give me
Soul,
an
like
example.
Clarence Carter, Theotis Ely, Marvin Cease, pretty much the records that would get played when parents said go to the back room when they were having their party, and the grown-ups would have their own drinks, and it would be the dirty records that kids couldn't listen to until they got older.
So with that, yeah, with that being said, I'm pretty sure that my generation had the parents that were playing those songs. So like my parents being as Christian as I was, I didn't get to hear a whole lot of that. Like it was mainly just gospel and like a lot of gospel and just choir music, choral music, arrangement, stuff like that. But everything was religious, man, when I was coming up. So to be honest with you, I probably don't know most of that stuff by name. Like I'm sure I've heard it because playlists that I have are full of genre, specific stuff. But like honestly, with a lot of that, when I first started in, it was hip hop, and it pretty much just went hardcore hip hop for years until I finally like decided to open my mind and kind of branch out and listen to other stuff. But I mean, Southern Soul in and of itself, regardless of the names and stuff, is something that it's uniquely here. It's something that what I mean. It's something that's taught. It's something I had to learn. You know what I mean? Because you don't. It just doesn't pop out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like you have to pay attention. You have to be able to absorb your surroundings. And shout out to think about how many numerous hip hop songs that I've heard and probably am a fan of that sample things from those exact eras, chopped and screwed. If it's not, whatever. You know what I mean? But use influences and use stuff from that. So I mean, hey, that's Southern Soul is it has to be infused in whatever, even the rock that comes from here, the hip hop that comes from here, the country that comes from here, the pop that comes from here. It all has that unique. They all share that commonality. So the influences are huge, no doubt.
Just wait till you hear Candy Liquor by Marvin Cease. That's all I gotta
Okay,
say
I'll be
say
that up.
about
Put
that
me on
one.
game. Marvin C's. How do you spell C's?
Seace. It is not about
Okay.
licking no candy cane either. I'll just leave it at that, and you can let your mind do the thinking. But it's crazy about Southern Soul is that all these acts they could just tour these southern states only, and just make buku amounts of money and still be good. Somebody got a blues festival. We have Clarence Carter. We got TK Soul. We got Theotis Ely, Mel Waiters. They can make a good amount of money and just continue to tour without really expanding outside of the southern US. And that shows how unique, regional music scenes are to certain parts of the country.
Yeah, no doubt. North Carolina took that and ran with it, as I'm sure a lot of other places did. But that soul is special down here. I mean, especially like when in Wilmington they do the Azalea Festival. They pull some names. They pull some names. So I'm trying to get on one of these, trying to want to get on one of these festival slots, man. And because with this soul music, man, well, shout out to Sean Bonner, man. He's getting me. He's we're learning all these covers, all these different soulful acts that he's pulling out. He had me learn some Roberta Flack the other day. I haven't listened to Roberta Flack in how long. I pulled up some of her stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, soul is real, no
Yeah,
doubt.
and fun fact about Roberta Flack, she's an NC native.
I was pretty sure that's what Sean led with. If I'm not quite mistaken.
Yeah,
Where's
she's
she
an NC
from?
native. I
She
believe
fled.
she's from around the Asheville area, I believe.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, from the
Yeah, no doubt.
Asheville area. Tupac's mom, the late Miss Afeni Shakur's from Lumberton. Attorney Benjamin Krupp's from Lumberton. Current University of Houston men's basketball coach Calvin Sampson's from Lumberton. And like I said earlier, NC has just talented people across the board. We mentioned, of course, the GOAT earlier, Michael, Air, Jordan. So we're gonna go into a little bit of a ACC basketball since hoops is around the corner. Are you a Tar Heel or a Dookie?
Um, Man, I don't know. It's hard to answer. I feel like all my friends are gonna get mad at me. Nah, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'll probably say Tar Heels. I'll probably say Tar Heels. They have I don't know. I just like their play style. It's a little bit more laid back and precision than Dukes. I feel like, especially recently.
Yeah, it's
But
gonna
I
be
mean, my mom,
interesting.
my mom went to UNCC, so you know what I mean. I'm kind of obliged. Yeah,
Mhm.
no doubt.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting this year to see Carolina with Hubert Davis taking over since Roy Williams stepped down and retired. And then this year will be Coach K's final season at Duke. But John Shire had already been named the successor once he steps down. So it's really going to be a changing of the guard for the next year in the ACC because you're seeing a lot of the old school coaches that we grew up on, stepping down and passing the torch on to the younger coaches. And NC, as we know, is a hoops hotbed. Look at all of the basketball players that's out of NC that's in the league. You got the Curry brothers, Bam Adebayo, Kobe White, Kent Bazemore
Guy
out
that
of
play,
Bertie County,
guy that plays for the Lakers. What's his name? He's
Montrez
from
Harrell.
Kinston.
We got Montrez Harrell. He's it with the Wizards now. We got John Wall, and we just hit Harry Giles, and we just got a long list of athletes out of this state, basketball wise, football wise as well too. Todd Gurley, and we could go on and on. North Carolina hoops and football. What more do you love? Now, I want to get into this. How did you end up hooking up with Sean Bond?
That's a good solid story, man. You're talking about fate. So I had a song and it was called Nothing, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do for a video for it. So ended up coming together with my homeboy from Big Rags Productions, and we put together a treatment for it where we kidnap a politician and a bunch of political stuff. So I put out a little casting call. I knew that Brent acted. I hit him up. A couple other actors put out a little casting call. He ended up being the one to fill the spot. He said, "Yeah, I want it. I want to do it." I'm like, "All right, cool." So he came down to Wilmington, made sure that he was, fed and everything and rested. And we went out that day and we shot the video. I ended up meeting Brent. So Brent Moore Gaskins, look him up. He's a IMDb certified actor too, man. He's been in a bunch of movies. Shout out to Brent, he's a real one. But I ended up meeting him at a show randomly one day. But after he came out and acted in my video, we kind of became friends and talked a bit. And he's super cool. And one day he started texting me a couple months ago. He goes, Landon, he's like, I got somebody interested. I got somebody interested. I got some heavy hitters talking about you, man. And I'm like, all right, Brent, what's going on? And so he puts me in touch with Sean. And I got on a call with Sean on my lunch break one day at my job and went outside, no shirt on. I'm standing in the yard singing at the top of my lungs because Sean said he wanted to hear me sing. Like, let me hear you sing. What you got? So I lit into one of my original songs and just started singing my heart out. Neighbors looking at me crazy, like, what's going on with him? And I'm walking around the yard, but so ended up meeting him later. Went to Charlotte, met him and everything. Dude's 1,000%. I love his energy. We're working together on some projects and some maneuvers. He's got a plan, and I'm blessed to be a part of it. It's really good energy. It's been a while since I've been around good energy like that. Pointing that way. So, um, shout out to him. Shout out to Miss Ebony, who was a good friend of Brent's. The two of them were who in conjunction brought me up. So shout out to Miss Ebony again. I can't say it enough. But yeah, Sean saw potential. He knows what's going on. He knows the practice and the work that I put in to, put myself out there and make sure that all my content is as quality as it can be. And he recognized that, and that's solid on his part. So shout out to him. But yeah, it was one of those things, man, where you never know what's going to happen. You never know the connection that you're going to make if it turns into something, or what, you got to always just make sure network, make sure just be real be real with those, you know what I'm saying, that you come across, because you never know what may happen. So shout out to Brent, man. Just met him randomly at a show. Now, not only he started my video, but hooked me up with my management and is tightly linked in with, a lot of the stuff we're doing. So
Right.
shout out to Amethyst on Fire TV. Yeah, no
Right.
doubt.
Right. You mentioned staying prepared and being ready because you were on your lunch break from your job, and it was like, hey, it's all or nothing. I got to push all my chips to the table, go all in. This is my one shot. I got to do it. I got to hit it.
I did. He had me out there singing. He had me out there singing Miguel. Or Max, no, Maxwell. Maybe it was Maxwell. Yeah, whenever, whatever, whenever, I think is the name of the song. Yeah, and he had me out there, and it's been so long since I heard the song. I had to listen to it to remember how it went. So I rehearsed it for a second and sang it back to him, and man, I was standing out, standing out the yard, hey, and he's like, oh man, okay, I hear you, Landon, and I'm out here in the yard walking around, just yeah, but you, like you said, you get one chance, and if it's something, when it's that important to you though, it's not like he asked me to draw blueprints for a house. That's something I've never done. You know what I mean? It's not like he asked me to. He just said, "No, sing me some stuff. Show me what you're doing." You know what I mean? Like this is what you practice for. You know what I mean? This is what you're here for. So like, yeah, shout out to Sean, man. He saw the potential. He still does, and and I know he's got it locked down. So gotta keep
Right. And Sean had learned from the best, like I mentioned, bodyguard of New Kids on the Block, being around Maurice Starr, that whole movement. Because for those of you that are too young or only know Donnie Wahlberg from acting or the brother of Mark Wahlberg, New Kids on the Block was huge in the late 80s and early 90s because if it wasn't for them, there would be no Backstreet Boys, no NSYNC, no BTS, none of the boy groups that we see now. If it
yeah,
wasn't for New Kids on the Block, and then of course before
no One
them,
Direction.
the template
Yeah,
for New Kids on the Block, New Edition, which who was discovered by Maurice Starr. So there's the Maurice connection with New Edition and New Kids. So were you familiar with New Kids' body of work before hooking up with Sean?
kinda. Like I knew that they were significant, and I knew a couple of the hits. You know what I mean? Like the more major stuff. But he's putting me onto some more of their music. A lot of their stuff is kind of like they're very active love songs. You know what I mean? So it was honestly kind of a shift of direction for me, which was not a bad thing because I enjoy being challenged. You know what I mean? Production wise, performance wise, creative wise, and to introduce a catalog like the Backstreet Boys have. I mean, come on, Jordan could hit notes. You know what I mean? Like let's not play. Um, but it was a shift of pace. You probably wouldn't have found the Backstreet Boys on my playlist before Sean came along and said, "Hey, learn these songs." But I love music in general, so you're never gonna find me going, "Oh no, get away from me." You know what I mean? Like, of course, I just went and learned it, and I played on the live. I played on a live acoustic piano, and it sounds great as a ballad. You know what I mean? Like if you play it and you just fill it in and make it go, it goes hard. So shout out
Yeah,
to the shout out to Sean for putting me on some new music.
yeah, definitely that. And for those of you that have not checked out their 1994 album, Face the Music, criminally underrated. Definitely check that album out. I thought that was New Kid's best work. And also, you could catch my throwback interviews with Danny Wood and Maurice Starr on YouTube and on Beyond the album cover. So definitely check those
Nice.
out. But I also wanted to ask you who is the one artist or group that people will be surprised say, man, I didn't know Landon liked this person or group.
Oh man, I'm really gonna tattletale on myself right now,
Go ahead.
but I listen to Pink from time to time.
Nothing wrong with Pink.
She's a singer. That's the main reason. Like I can appreciate, you know what I mean. Like as a vocalist, I can definitely appreciate some of the stuff that she does, and she's ridiculous. And the image, of course, is kind of like, yeah, like I get what she's doing, but I probably would. I say I listen to the ballads too. So I don't even want y'all to take that. I don't even want y'all to take that like I listen to Pink's whole catalog on repeat every day. No, 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 no. But she has some songs like "Beam Me Up" that's really, really good. Straight up, just piano ballad with some strings, really nice. She's got some songs. She's got a song with Eminem too, as a matter of fact, if I'm not quite mistaken. Um, but yeah, nah. Pink is definitely the guilty pleasure. Pink is definitely guilty pleasure. Another band that I was gonna say probably that I would put you on if I could put anybody on. I've been bragging about them for years, but they're called the Winery Dogs. You're talking about soul, and these guys aren't from the South, at least not that I'm aware of. But they sing some soul. So the Winery Dogs is a three piece band. It's made up of Richie Kotzen, Billy Sheen, and then the drummer from Dream Theater. What is his name? Mike Portnoy. They're all in that group together. So check them out. Pretty
All right, the
pretty dope
Winery
stuff.
Dogs, definitely got to check them out. Now I know for me, my guilty pleasure, I've been bumping a lot of country music lately. Being from the South, I know a little
Okay.
bit of it to get by, but not deeply steeped in it like most people. But upon viewing Ken Burns' excellent documentary about country music, I started to dive a little bit more into it, bumping some Kane Brown, some Mickey Guyton, Sam Hunt, Lady A, Florida Georgia Line, Dan and Shay, and how country music is a mixture of all these different genres. And at the end of the day, it's nothing but three chords and the truth.
Oh, that's fun. Hey, look, that's a quotable. Did you come up with that? You wrote that
No,
yourself?
no,
Three
that's
chords.
not that. I've heard that mentioned by a lot of country artists that it says nothing but
Oh, okay.
three chords and the truth. Because when I listen to Chris Stapleton singing Tennessee Whiskey, I'm like, man, this guy's been singing like he been sitting at Big Mama's knee in the kitchen while she was fixing the made from scratch mac and cheese. You
Hey,
can't
Chris
tell me
Stapleton
he
can
got
sing.
soul.
Yeah, no, Chris Stapleton can sing. He can sing. What was the one dude from American Idol? I can't remember. I'm coming home was his name. I'm coming home.
Chris Daughtry, who's
Little
from North
place of
Carolina as
love.
well.
Chris Daughtry.
Yeah, he's from North Carolina, McLeansville,
Okay.
outside of Greensboro, and he has relatives around my neck of the woods in the 252 on the eastern side of the county, of
That's
Northampton County.
nuts. I don't think I knew that. Yeah, that's crazy. That man's got soul too. So does Zach Wild. Zach Wild. I don't know if you ever listen to Zach Wild, but Zach Wild can sing his soul out.
All right. Now, where can people expect to hear from you as far as projects and performances? Because we know last year everything got put to a halt because of the pandemic, but we're seeing now how everything is slowly but surely starting to pick back up. So, where can people find your current projects, and also where will you be performing if you have any dates?
Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate that. So the first thing I would say about me is go follow the social medias. It's super easy. Dirty F White, all one word, like Wheezy F baby. Um, that's all the social medias. That's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, da da da. You can go look up my actual music, my discography of studio recorded stuff, as well as some live cuts, etc. You can just type Dirty White, all one word. That's Spotify, that's Apple Music, that's Amazon, that's Deezer, that's Audio Slave, Audio Mac. Listen to me. You get the picture. Anywhere that you want to go, Dirty White, all one word. As far as music that I'm actively promoting that I really, really want to shout out, the first thing would be I want to shout out, obviously, Nothing, the video with Brent in it. It just hit 11K a couple weeks ago. Shout out to everybody that's been pushing that. Go check that out on my YouTube. Once again, Dirty F White or Dirty White, either one you want to do on YouTube will take you to it. Then also I have a song called Reckless or Romance. It's more for the ladies. If you know somebody, auntie, sister, whatever, they like that more laid back stuff. Reckless and Romance is definitely a good place to send them on my page. Live performances. I'm actually going to be performing on Halloween, the Friday of Halloween night, um, here in Wilmington. actually the building that's adjoined to my studio. So it's called Morning Glory Coffee House. So anybody that's in Wilmington, if you guys see that, even if you're from out of state and you want to pile in, it's going to be a party. My performance is just a part of it, but I am going to be performing. So that'll be awesome. And then I've got a couple performances lined up here for mid-December. So some bigger dates coming up. Stay tuned for the announcement. I'm going to put out plenty of promo, before it starts happening to let everybody know where it's going down. But me and Sean got some stuff in the works. So, you know what I'm saying? Got to keep moving and shaking. So,
Yeah, got to keep grinding. Now, I want to know this by you being a native North Carolinian. What is your go-to meal at Bojangles? And if you don't know Bojangles, people, it's better than Church's, better than KFC, better than Popeyes, better than Williams Chicken if you're from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and definitely better than Chester's. Don't ask me, ask your mama.
yeah, Bojangles rules all right, it's bow time, and it's always bow time. Man, I don't default meal. You're gonna man. Why are you asking me these questions? Uh,
I miss home,
probably
man.
probably
I don't get Bojangles that much. I only get to go home every 2 years. Been out in New Mexico. I got to get Bojangles every time I go home. As soon as I touch down RDU, I'm like Bojangles.
yeah. Bojangles is amazing, man. I probably a spicy chicken biscuit and seasoned fries and a sweet tea. Probably would be one of my go-tos. My other go-to would probably be the Supremes, chicken Supremes with the fixins, and I get the dirty rice and the kidney beans
Okay, all
and
right.
sweet tea.
My go-to would be the three-piece, double fixing the fries, sweet tea, or the Cajun filet biscuit or sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit with the bow rounds and sweet tea. But this confession right here will shock you, bro. I never had a bowberry biscuit.
You never had a Bowberry biscuit?
I never had a bowberry biscuit. I was just never inclined to get a bowberry biscuit. But some of my foodies out there know this little hack where you take the sausage from the sausage biscuit and put it inside the bowberry biscuit for some sweet and savory goodness.
I did it with bacon. I did it
Hmm,
with bacon.
hmm,
Yeah.
hmm.
Bacon and
Now,
eggs. Bacon and eggs go good between a Bowberry. And you know what's crazy? If you really want to get wild with it, the frosting that they sell with the
uh,
Bowberry biscuits.
uh,
Bacon, put the frosting on the bacon.
Lord, Lord have mercy. Now, another spot you all should check out besides Bojangles, Smithfield Chicken and Barbecue, which is another great spot for barbecue, for chicken, or like I said earlier, go to a gas station way on the far end of town. You got to go on the outskirts. The more discolored the menu looks, the better the food's going to be. Or you can catch a good Chinese food spot in a Food Line parking lot. If you're from North Carolina,
Right.
South Carolina, or VA, you know that to be a fact.
I don't know why they're always at the food line, man. That is so true. I never thought about that. It's always at the food line, and there's always like a cell phone repair place or like a little boutique or something right next to it. But there's always the one staple Chinese. Get the shrimp fried rice, and get the or the lo mein and get the egg roll. You won't regret it. You
Yeah,
won't regret it.
and you'll probably find a City Trends somewhere in that vicinity too.
A city or rugged warehouse. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. And then of course we got the restaurant that Sweet Baby Jesus himself has blessed, endorsed, and is a southern staple. You can catch it about every other exit. Waffle House. My go-to at Waffle House is a Texas toast, sausage, egg, and cheese with hash browns scattered and covered to this day. But
Mm.
but you got to go to the Waffle House once again. That looks kind of suspect. If the sanitation grade is a C or below, you're gonna be safe. And also, if your cook looks a little bit fried, look like he's been on God's green grass, if you know what I'm talking about, you know the food is gonna be extra bomb, especially if you
Hey,
go
you can
after
always
midnight.
yeah, you can always tell too because the cook be outside smoking a cigarette
Yeah, that's when
as
you
soon
know
as you
your
pull
food's
up.
gonna be lit.
You put out the cigarette and he come inside.
That, or if your waitress gonna
Yeah.
call you sugar, baby, honey, darling, or any derivative of that. Because if they don't do that, that ain't it. But like I said, if you go to Waffle House after midnight, it turns into Ratchet House, kind of like Gremlins. Don't feed them after midnight. Don't go to Ratchet House after midnight if you're all about trying to be straight A and be straight laced, because some things go down at Waffle House after midnight, especially if you had a little bit of liquid courage in the system. Drink responsibly though.
And that's everybody that be in Waffle House too. Everybody's already drunk. They just came home from the club. They're in Waffle House. They're talking shit. But nah, but on the real though, if you go to Waffle House after midnight, it's you can go if you want to risk it. That's fine, but just make sure you got your camera out, because I promise you, your reel will do 50K on Instagram if you put it up.
Yeah,
Fights, Waffle House fights, and they're always doing the most.
yeah, risk it all, but make sure you have the heater in the car. And I'm not talking about the one in your center dash console lever. Those of you that know about the heater, the tool, the burner, because the element will be outside of Waffle House. But you know that you're gonna be safe inside Waffle House at midnight if you know the right people. But you just gotta know when to go. When somebody gets up and wants to start bringing that black Air Force One energy, it's time for you to go. Shout out to Pat Bev.
Right. Yeah. Nah. But hey, look, Waffle House during the day versus Waffle House at night. There's
Totally
no other
different.
restaurant that has that. There's no other restaurant that has that wide of a division. You know what I'm saying? Taco Bell during the day and Taco Bell at night is comparable. I feel like, you know what I mean. But Taco Bell, Taco Bell don't know nothing about no. They don't know nothing about no hash browns scattered, smothered, and cap either. So you know what I'm saying,
No.
that's too bad.
Yep, scattered, smothered, covered, cap, top. There's different variations of how you can get your hash browns at Waffle House. Now, last fun question before we wrap. How do you like your grits if you eat grits?
What do you mean how? You mean sugar versus butter?
Sugar versus butter, cheese, no cheese. I mean, how do you
Uh,
personally like to eat grits if you are a grits man?
yeah, no, I get definitely a grits man. Definitely a grits man. I would say just lots of butter and salt, and if you got fresh cracked pepper, like that.
Okay. Now you're gonna find this very interesting. Up until maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, I never had grits. Even though I'm from the South, I never partake in grits of in breakfast because I just never liked grits. So the first time I had grits in my life was I was on my honeymoon cruise and we were leaving out of Charleston and they had shrimp and grits. And that's the only way I eat grits. If it's shrimp and grits, put some bacon bits in there, put a little bit of
Okay.
mild sharp cheddar, not sharp cheddar, but mild sharp cheddar. And then some bacon bits and some jumbo shrimp, magnifique. I'm telling you, it'll make your world a whole lot different.
That does sound good. That sounds super good. Yeah, no, shrimp and grits always hits. Shrimp and grits, regardless. I don't think I've ever been to a place where it was like, the shrimp and grits aren't good. Like shrimp and grits are always hit. Doesn't matter where you get them from.
Yeah, like I tell people all the time when it comes to food in the South, if it ain't deep fried, it ain't right. If it ain't that,
Right. Yeah.
if the Kool-Aid and the tea is not diabetic sweet, that ain't it. I want the I want the sugar to hit that first sip.
Right. Need insulin. Hey, look, shout out to North Carolina, man. My little brother cooks at a Highway 55, talking about some North Carolina food.
Mm.
So there you go.
Talking about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Highway 55, is that the burger spot that used to be Andy's?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Yo, I'm telling you, y'all go to Highway 55, dog. The burgers bomb, lemonade crack, the fries crack. You will not be disappointed, dog. Highway 55 burgers and fries located in and around the NC area. Send my check in the mail.
Hey, I'm gonna show my little brother this too. He's gonna love it, man. That's so funny. Yeah, shout out to Highway 55 in Delco, North Carolina, man. That's they out there cooking and doing the thing. And their burgers do smack too, because my little brother cooks out there, and that man can cook. Shout out to Max.
Yep, but don't try that Highway 55 challenge if you ain't got a stomach. Or bring some friends and y'all can be like, hey man, let's go half and half on this. Because if you don't complete that Highway 55, you got to pay for it, but it's eat at your own risk.
Yeah, because I've never tried it. I've watched some friends of mine attempt it. I've only seen one friend finish it. He got it, but he didn't feel good afterwards. His
Yeah,
whole rest of his day was not pleasant.
yeah, he was probably sitting on the porcelain throne after that. Yep, yep,
And
sitting
we
on
were
the
in a and we
porcelain
were in a
throne.
house with one we were in a house with one bathroom too. That was the problem.
That ain't how you do it. If you're gonna do that situation, that's where you got to have multiple bathrooms, or just put a do not disturb sign on the door, because you're gonna be in there getting up close and personal with the porcelain throne, and you're gonna be sitting there for a while. And the one thing I want to say before we close, man, I appreciate you coming on. Do you have any shouts you want to give before we wrap, and also plug your social media?
So I want to shout out Mr. Sean Bonner first and foremost, man. Thank you, man, for showing faith in me. Thank you for everything that you do. I want to shout out to you, Jarrell, for having me on the podcast. You've been phenomenal. It's been a good time. I want to come back and have another one. Let's do some more. Let's talk about some crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? Let's get in some old discussion, and I'm super down for it. I appreciate you having me. I want to shout out, Brent and Ebony. Like I said earlier, I want to shout out Bobby Dollars and CBT, my boy Young Will. Um, I want to shout out my man TVM Killer. His new project Preach is out right now. Go pick that up. Preach by TVM Killer. Um, Go look at my social media, Dirty F White. You'll see links to all my stuff everywhere. Everything's interconnected. All the infrastructure is set up. If you go to one platform, you can find me on any. Please go check out my music. Reckless and Romance is at like 34,000, I think, right now, after almost a year and a half out. So you guys please help me run up these numbers. We're trying to attract attention. We're trying to bring in the good vibes and really bless people. That's the whole point, is to bless people. And you're blessing me by having me on the show. So it's only right that I shout you back out. So there's going to be some cross promotion. Don't you worry. I'm going to be sharing this episode everywhere. So
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Shout out to Sean. Shout out to Annie, Dirty F White across all socials. And then also, too, can you close us out with a little vocal?
Yeah. You guys want to hear Reckless and Romance?
Yeah, give the people a little something.
The razor's edge, the bitter truth is the only way to spare this pain from you. So if I could give you some advice to help you get through the lonely nights, you better disappear, get away from here. Oh, you better run away while you still have a chance. They should have warned you in advance. Now that your heart is in my hands, I understand. Oh, you better run away. Yeah. I don't know, something slight. It's like a little acoustic rendering.
All right. That's for the ladies and gentlemen. There you heard it, and there you have it. My guy, fellow NC native, Landon, on Beyond the Album cover. Ladies and gentlemen, give him a round of applause. Landon, thank you once again, bro, for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate you guys. Hope you enjoyed my big giant glasses. And you guys have a great rest of the night, man. Shout out to the podcast and shout out to yourself.
Yes, sir.